You think they should apply that to every
pro wrestling? I mean, they do. I mean, look at Booker T 5 times.
Yeah,
but literally, that was insane. 5 times.
But that's the question: should they go back and give Fabulous Moolah that title? Yeah, look at Gorgeous George. You remember the wrestler Gorgeous George? He some will say he was at the time more popular than Hogan because he was constantly making the news channel and politicians and other stuff were coming in to watch him. Like, you barely see that now where you see politicians comes in, but that's how much of a during that era it was completely different. But yeah, definitely I think it should be.
Man, shout out to wrestling fans, man. Y'all LA, I thought y'all was bougie, y'all stunk as a crowd, and then y'all booed Hulk Hogan, man. Salute.
Oh yeah, booed Hulk. Boo.
Y'all booed him so heavy, man. It was a heavy. It's one of them 1800s boos where you boo in the theater, they boo in the theater. It was one of those. They was like, get out of here. I was laughing like
California.
Dog out of here.
In the 90s, Vince McMahon was desperate and hungry for ratings. In an attempt to cut costs, he cut most of the women's division and their champion, Alundra Blaze. Then she went over to WCW and did the famous drop the championship belt in the trash can. Mm-hmm. That led to the first female wrestler to become popular and over-sexualized. And her name was Sunny. Then you came Tori Reynolds, Stacy Keibler, and then Sable. Looking at the women's revolution, do you think it's really truly about equality, or is it just a marketing gimmick, especially when you see some women's wrestlers emphasize their sex appeal? Does that still overshadow their talent for today? Because women today still have high sex appeal. Do you think they're taking a step back, or do you think that we really have evolved in women's wrestling?
They've moved forward. They've learned how to control it. They've come to a point where, okay, it's a sex appeal, but we're going to own it, right?
Okay.
And we're gonna put our skill behind it. Now y'all can't say, oh, they just pretty. Now look at Charlotte Flair. I'm pretty, but I can do like a triple somersault off the top rope outside the ring and land outside the ring and then land on my feet and don't injure myself. You know what I mean? Like, so now they have the skill behind it because the skill level is so high. Some of the stuff that they do, like EO with the trash can, and that's why I love War Games, man. War Games brings it out, man. Yeah. Like the trash can on her head and then just jumping blindly into the crowd, just hoping that they catch her. You know what I mean? Like that's craziness. That's craziness.
But I got a question. Do you think some of the women's wrestlers today would have thrived back then? How would you think it would have been if Bianca was back in that time with Stable? It's funny. I actually did a lot of research before Vince came and cut a lot of that stuff. The women wrestling in the 80s was way more athletic than the women's wrestling in the 90s. It's just that they didn't want to push that. And that kind of goes into, one of my next questions. But I think the athleticism always been there. It's just the promotion dumbing it down to boost ratings, to do all the bra and panty bullshit and all that stuff. They wanted ratings. But was Stable a good wrestler? Stable was not a wrestler.
Yeah, the skill level went up a little bit. We got to get the girls now their credit. The skill level definitely went up a little bit, and that's what's got guys like watch women's wrestling now. You know, and that's why, because certain matches, it's gonna go down. They talk about her. But Nia Jax sells.
Oh, yeah.
They can't lift her. Let's get to it. Because y'all talk about Nia. Y'all talk about her like a dog, right? Because she hurt y'all champion Becky Lynch. Punched in the nose. Everybody love Becky, right? I love Becky, but I know what it was. Probably an accident. She probably injured a couple more wrestlers, like they said. Yeah. So y'all talk about her like a dog. What y'all don't talk about is that nobody can jump over her back and flip powerbomb her off the third rope.
And I'm here. What's happening?
Nobody can do the stuff. She is jumping and creating. She's selling it. And we don't give wrestlers just in general enough credit when they're selling, right? So we got a lot of girls, they'll sell, you know what I mean? And Nia Jax has to oversell because she's a lot heavier, so she got to make sure that they can get this move off. Then she got to protect herself, right? So she got to make sure she land right.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because she know they can't control her once she get in the air.
A few places you was at, I could have pulled up, but I don't think that was gangster.
You can't control her. You can go on your finger, Jade. Bianca.
Yeah.
Who else?
You got Rhea.
Rhea, that's it. That's
Yeah.
it. That's it.
Rhea.
That's it.
Shout
That's
out
it.
Rhea.
Jade, Bianca, Rhea. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. And Rhea tries to do the what does she call it? The riptide. She tries to riptide her, and she can't get her up all the way. But she makes sure she don't hurt Nia though, and Nia rolls with it and makes sure she lands on her back instead of her head.
Currently, women's wrestling is successful. If the writers put as much energy into women's storyline as much as the men, could women take over? Are we in the era of wrestling where women's wrestling become the majority? Or do you think they will never push it, that women will never overshadow the man as far as storyline? Could we see a WrestleMania 40, but majority women?
We are seeing a little bit of it because before, during some of the larger pay-per-views, you didn't typically see the women's matches towards the end. And I think a couple of WrestleManias or SummerSlam, we see some of the women's championship match, probably the third last match or maybe the second last match. I believe we had a match with Becky Lynch and what's the girl that went over to AED? Sasha Banks. That was, I think, a Hell in a Cell match they had, and I think it was the second last match of the. I don't know if it was WrestleMania, but I believe that we are seeing that because typically, back then their matches are in the beginning, and sometimes wrestlers, at least from, developing their character standpoint, they be like, "Oh, you're the first match of the night." Like that's kind of like you gotta start. You got that big responsibility of starting the show off, but then everybody else have to follow after that. But then if you don't put on a good show, then your match is kind of like nobody's not going to talk about it because it was the first match.
So do you think it's fair that WWE has not done another women's evolution or women's only pay-per-view? We only seen one. We haven't seen another one after that. Is it time for them to give a women's only
Let's bounce
pay-per-view?
back to that though. I ain't answered the first.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
So that's a good piggyback. But the problem is when you have to look at the consumer. You always have to look at the consumer, right? So if you're looking at the consumer is majority male. The reason that reality TV is the way it is, because who's the consumer? The majority consumer is women. So they're going to dictate the direction that it goes. You will never see women wrestling overtake male wrestling because the majority consumer is males.
He ain't lying.
Now, the minute that the majority consumer is female, that will happen. But men want to see The Rock and Stone Cold and all that. They're tapping in. So people that's marketing, that's working for the WWE and AEW, they know this. They know that their customer base is 80% male.
Yeah. Okay.
So now that's like saying, can the WNBA overtake the NBA?
Keep telling yourself that, darling.
Never. No.
Never happened.
And
until the majority of the fans are women.
Yeah.
If the majority of the fans are women, then they're going to market toward the women. You see what I'm saying? But as long as the money says we cater toward them, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, even the women want to see the man because they love their favorite.
They love
their male wrestlers.
Look what The Rock did for wrestling. That's your litmus test right there. The Rock brought all the women to wrestling.
Yeah, okay. They love their Val Venus back in the day.
Yep.
do we need more women's only pay-per-views? I say yes.